you come in.
No, nobody needs to get hurt here.
When you start coming in next class, sing Buffalo Soldier.
Yeah, not everyone can do studying full, but whatever you do, Lindsay.
Okay, let's get to it. You knew I was going to start with this.
Oh yeah, you're so proud of it.
I like the other one better.
Going
The
with,
other one,
like
the
the
train or
scenery
whatever.
view.
Yeah, like
You like that one better?
And it's mapped it. Highlighted the boards that were going
Well, I hope it all goes together. You understand the connection here.
on.
I don't know. We got to this.
Yeah, we got her.
We got Dalzak and the Carlo Indian School. Okay, Dalzak. 160
Acres.
acres, yes. Just like Homestead, yes. And I think we did get to this, and this is where we ended. Okay, battle, Wounded Knee, battle or massacre. John?
Yeah, I'd say it was more of that.
Katie? I think that's what I'm probably going to get from everybody. Anybody disagree? Okay, moving on then. Who can read real quick? Like Katie, you're up. Good.
Reservation agency traded for corrupt, stealing money and supplies, demanding bribes, selling inferior goods to like satisfaction. Indian communities across the health suffered in alcoholism, drugs, and aging.
Take a second, look at the pictures. And you know that corruption there, let me explain that. What happened is people that work for the government were supposed to deliver the food and not belongings, but food, clothing, shelters, things like that. And what they did was they kept it for themselves or sold it to other quote unquote white men and women rather than give it to the Native Americans like they were supposed to. So, and this did happen. This did happen. Okay. Thanks for reading my mind, Katie. Yeah.
They were dying.
Yeah, but they just let you know what system.
Yeah, because he's dying too. They don't have food, shelter, or water. Of course.
Like, I can't run after no buffalo no more. True, I mean, even like almost frozen leg.
Now, don't forget, that's not a photograph, that's a painting.
You know.
And I think that the painting really captures the mood. Yep.
Became very ill and nearly died. While ill, he had a vision of God during his holy eclipse. God told him that he must teach his people that they must love each other, live in peace with the white people, and must work hard and not lie or steal. The welcome was given a dance by God, but it had to be performed for 5 consecutive days. The welcome called it the dance of the spirits. Whites called it the ghost dance.
The ghost dance. And that was, again, I just want to mention that the last 2 lines there, as Katie just said, not mention it, but emphasize it. The whites called this a ghost dance. Okay? It's not something the Native Americans called it. Obviously, a marathon of a slide. Anybody want to take over? For Katie. But
The ghost dance religion promised apocalypse in the coming years, during which the time Earth would be destroyed and only created with the Indians as the inheritors of the Earth. According to the prophecy, the recent times of suffering for Indians have been brought about by their sins, but now they have withstood enough under the whites. With the earth destroyed, white people would be obliterated, buried under the new soil of the spring, and that would cover the land and restore the prairie. The buffalo, horses, and antelope would return, and deceased ancestors would rise to once again roam the earth, now free of violent starvation and disease. The national world would be restored, and the land once again would be free and open to the Indian peoples without the borders and boundaries of the white man. The new doctrine taught that salvation would be achieved when the Indians purged themselves of the evil ways learned from the white man, especially the drinking of alcohol. Believers were encouraged to engage in movement, ceremonial cleansing, meditation, prayer, chanting, and most importantly, dancing and ghost dance.
ghost dance songs. Who's doing the singing?
Nobody.
Do it.
I don't even know what the tune is.
The whole world
It's coming.
is coming. A nation is coming. A nation is coming. The eagle has brought the message to the tribe. Father says so. The father says so. Over the whole earth they are coming. The buffalo are coming. The buffalo are coming. The crowd has brought the message to the tribe. The father says so. The father says so.
What do you think of the Ghost Dance song? That was good, by the way.
I like it.
Song.
This should really, when I see this and I think of the culture and things like that, it absolutely makes you sad. When you think about what's happening. Okay? Grogo.
These men's faces were often painted to reflect personal visions. No white made clothing could be worn by dancers. Many wore ghost shirts or spirit shirts, believed to make the wearer introduced to dwarves.
The press fanned the flames. Locals were generally not concerned or frightened by the ghost dance, as it was called. But bigger city newspapers from all over the country tried to outdo each other in raising the alarm, to sell papers by fear. We call that yellow journalism, and I want you to know that. The point of it is to sell papers, okay? And that's called yellow journalism. It's exaggerations. Notice the people who lived there that were familiar with the Native Americans were not afraid at all. The people on the outside are like, Madison, left side, please.
The entire issue is based on conversations with the lady who was passing through backstage, and there are no first-hand knowledge of this narrative between the two.
Take a look at that on the left side again. Go ahead, Madison. Let's read that again.
This entire issue is based on conversations with a lady who was passing through by stage and who had no first-hand knowledge but was familiar with the information she had heard.
Do you see the travesty here?
Game of telephone, where things get out of hand.
Exactly. And notice the lady had no first-hand knowledge. But did you hear what happened? You have no idea how many stories I've heard about the game last night. And you know what's interesting? A lot of the people that I heard from weren't even there.
It's because people just start rumors.
Let's move on. Chronology, 1889. John, back to you.
1889, Wolfowitz, a prophet and visionary of the Paiute, has this great vision. 1890, April, May, a delegation of Lakota representatives returns from meeting with Woka and begins to teach the spirit dance. August, September, newspaper reporters begin coverage of the ghost dance, presenting it as a focal point for an Indian uprising. October, the spirit dance is introduced at Standing Rock Agency. November, President Benjamin Harrison orders the military to take control of the Lakota reservations. December 15th, the agent at Standing Rock Agency, James McLaughlin, sends Indian police to arrest Sitting Bull. Sitting Bull is killed.
Sitting Bull is killed, and that is the man that defeated Custer, George Armstrong Custer. I want you to be aware of that. Sitting Bull. Okay, Katie, back to you.
December 16th, Bigfoot, leader of the Panju band on the Cheyenne River Reservation, is arrested as a troublemaker. December 21st, Bigfoot learns of the death of Sitting Bull. December 23rd, Bigfoot's band begins a flight to Pine Ridge Agency. December 28th, the band is intercepted by Major Samuel Whiteside of the 2nd Cavalry. The band is escorted to a campsite on Wounded Knee Creek. December 29th, Forsyth decides to disarm the Lakota. The shot is fired and the massacre begins. Up to 300 Lakota men, women, and children were killed. 1891, January 1st, a burial party returns to the site of the massacre. They bury 146 Lakota bodies in mass grave.
The Bible site. If you ever read the book, Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee, it is just horrendous. Definitely goes into a lot more detail than what I'm doing. But I think the pictures speak for themselves.
Days after the slaughter of the innocents, an editorial in the Aberdeen Saturday Pioneer
South Dakota.
of South Dakota. Saturday Pioneer reflected the popular opinion of the Siskiyou white people of that day. It read, "The Pioneer has before declared that our only safety depends upon the total extermination of the Indians. Having wronged them for centuries, we had better, in order to protect our civilization, follow it up by one more wrong, and what if these untamed and untamable creatures from the face of the earth. 10 years after he wrote that editorial calling for the genocide against the Lakota people, L. Frank Baum wrote that wonderful children's book, Wizard of Oz.
Now that doesn't make you gasp a little bit. I don't think anything will. Okay, so in the editorial, what's he talking about, John?
He's saying that pretty much if we want to be safe, if we want to protect our country or our what he believes is our territory, then we have to kill the Indians.
And who wrote it? Kemper? Katie,
The author of the Wizard of Oz.
the author of The Wizard of Oz. Some of you are very familiar with the author of The Wizard of Oz. Does that surprise you that he would write such a thing? Lindsay, what do you think?
Yeah, it's surprising for anybody to write that, really. It's so, like, brutal.
It's what?
So brutal.
One way of putting it, right? Take a look at this, though. What happened after Wounded Knee? Bro.
23 soldiers from the 17th Cavalry were later awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor, the highest military decoration awarded by the U.S. government for their actions at the Wounded Knee.
Now, Lindsay, what do you think of that?
Even worse. So they were awarded for.
Okay, Congress adjourned. Century afterward. 1 century after Wounded Knee, 1890, which marks the proverbial end of the Indian Wars. 1990. Madison, please.
Congress adjourned century after apology for the Wounded Knee massacre, published October 29, 1990. Descendants of the Indians killed and hurt in the Wounded Knee massacre 100 years ago have received a long-awaited apology from the government. The House of Voice vote a final congressional approval Thursday to a resolution expressing deep regret for the event that marked the end of the Indian War. The Senate approved the measure last week, depending on the historical account, about 150 to 400 Sioux Indians were killed by the 7th Cavalry on December 29, 1890, on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation in the southwestern South Dakota. The resolution does not provide any reparations to the descendants or declare the remote site a national monument as the Indian Survivors Association has requested.
Third to the bottom there. What are reparations? Anybody know? Kemper.
Reparations when you give people things or give back for doing wrong.
Yeah, payments for, in this case, it'd be like payments for damages. The last Indian battle, I want you to know that, 1890, that's an important year. Look at where period 7 starts.
Right there.
Yep, 1890. Before we go to any more there, take a look at the map there, and you can see where these, what were called Great Indian Wars took place. Little Bighorn is probably one of the most famous, 1876. The Wounded Knee Massacre, you definitely want to be familiar, 1890. John, back to you.
The U.S. Army attacked the Sioux after tribal leaders refused to stop their ghost dances. At Wounded Knee, 200 men, women, and children were killed. Indians never fought the U.S. again. With the buffalo all but exterminated and the frontier closed by white settlers, the Indian Wars ended in 1890. By 1890, Indians were restricted to small reservations and isolated locations.
Now take a look at that map. Land lost by Native Americans, 1775, is the yellow. Anybody know what that was? But
When they first came and started colonizing.
long before that, back in 1600, Jamestown, 1607. Some, well, I shouldn't say that. No, I would agree with you. After they started colonizing, okay. What stopped the encroachment then?
The proclamation one.
That's what I was asking. Yeah, so you're right with the colonization, the proclamation, which was actually 1763. But take a look at what else is happening there. And you can see the continued migration westward. Okay. Notice I'm not even going to try. Madden, what color is that? Second from the bottom in the key.
It's like a burnt orange.
Okay.
It's Texas Longhorns orange.
I've never heard of burnt orange
Like
before.
a
by the way.
Texas Longhorns orange.
Okay, sounds good. But take a look at that. Land retained by Native Americans.
It's all scattered.
What do you notice from the land?
Very little.
Very little, yes. Okay, so let's do this as a summary. What was the West in 1754, 1804, 1850, and 1890? Okay? Talk it over, chat it up. And if you're sitting there and don't know, then you need to be looking things up. Take 5 minutes.
Well, 1754 was like Ohio, Kentucky, Tennessee.
Yeah.
And then 1804.
Yeah.
It was probably like
Anything before though.
So that was when.
Actually, 1754 is probably just Ohio.
Yeah, I think it was after 1804.
And then 1804 would be like 40s.
Wait, 1787. So,
Or like,
it's
yeah.
the same. Middle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
1850. What was
And
1850? 1850 is when we got like California and stuff, right?
Yes.
1850 was very long.
So then 1890 is just everything is what we just got through.
But like in that 50s area.
So,
like where,
All right, what was the last 1754?
Ohio, Kentucky, just past the already established colonies.
Yeah. Okay, 1804. Why should 1804 ring a bell? 2 big events that year.
What was that?
1804, really big event. I can't give you a bigger hint.
Was that the Louisiana Purchase?
Bingo. Louisiana Purchase, yes. So in 1804, what was the West?
The new territory they acquired.
Okay, and you could also argue, of course, before it was kind of like going to the moon, the thought was. How about 1850? Now that one you should know.
Texas with California.
Well, Texas had already been there before,
California.
1848. California. What happened in 1850?
Weren't they building the railroad then?
Okay, I agree. What else?
And compromise.
Compromise of 1850. What state comes in?
Utah?
Compromise of 1850. Look it up. Don't just sit there waiting to be spoon-fed here. What?
Was it California?
It was California. This time there is no slave state to go along with it, like the Missouri Compromise. So what did the slave owners get? What does the South get?
The Fugitive Slave Act.
Now we're talking. 1890.
That was everything. They had everything then.
Built the transcontinental railroad so they could go anywhere.
Why should 1890 also be important?
Because it starts period 7 and the Indian Wars ended.
Okay. Battle of Wounded
The
Knee.
West was closed. Frontier, whatever you want to say.
What year? What is this? The yellow.
That's the Louisiana Purchase territory.
Give me the year.
1804.
That's a tough one. I'll give you that. That actually happens in the treaty. That's the Florida Purchase Treaty. That was John Quincy Adams. Okay.